Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we will be covering the 2023 gubernatorial elections. First off, I'm going to start by explaining these races. First up, we have my home state of Kentucky. Here, incumbent Democrat Andy Beshear will be seeking re-election. He is facing Attorney General Daniel Cameron. The race is anticipated to be very close, as Kentucky is known to be a solid red state on the federal level, but Andy Beshear is a Democrat who is very popular, so it will be a close race to see will the state's partisanship lean overtake his popularity, or will his popularity come through and deliver him to a second term. Next up, we have Mississippi. Mississippi is currently represented by Governor Tate Reeves. Tate Reeves will be facing a challenger from Democrat Brandon Presley. Presley is a more moderate Democrat, maybe even semi-conservative. He considers himself a populist. Next up is Louisiana. Louisiana does not pick nominees in the traditional sense, as they have an open primary, and the top two candidates from that primary advance to the general. However, Louisiana is not competitive despite the fact that their current governor, John Bel Edwards, is a Democrat. So we will rate that election as safe R. Next up is Kentucky and Mississippi. Now, Kentucky here, as I stated earlier, has Governor Andy Beshear, which is this man right here, facing Daniel Cameron, who's the Attorney General. As of right now, we have a polling average of Andy Beshear at 46.6 to Daniel Cameron at 44.9% and unsure at 8.5%. So as we can see, this race is about in the 2 margin. However, we could definitely see this race tighten up as it did before Daniel Cameron got the Republican nomination, but we could also see Andy Beshear's lead expand as these undecideds pick who they will choose for the general election. As we can see here, Mason-Dixon, which is a B+ poll, was Beshear +9, but that was taken in January before Attorney General Dan Cameron was able to receive the nomination. And May 8th to 19th, coefficient, which is B-, had Beshear +2. Next up, Senegal, which is rated B, has Beshear +0. Now, it's worth noting that this polling company often favors Republicans much more than they are actually leading by. We saw that a lot, especially in the 2022 elections. So, overall, I'm going to give this race a lean D rating, just because it is so competitive, but it does appear that Beshear has the upper hand. I don't have the numbers on me as of right now, but last I checked, Beshear's approvals were in the high 50s to low 60s. That is very good for an incumbent governor. It is very hard to knock out an incumbent, especially a popular one, no matter the partisanship lean of the state. Next up is Mississippi, where we have Governor Tate Reeves and Brandon Presley. Now, of course, at the presidential and federal level, Mississippi is a solid Republican state and backed President Trump in 2020 by around 17%. However, Brandon Presley has run a very moderate populist campaign against Governor Reeves. As we can see from polling, Tate Reeves is not doing as well as he should for a Republican in Mississippi. As we see from the SPLC Action Fund, Presley is up by 4 here, but it is worth mentioning that this poll is sponsored by the Democratic Party. We see from Mason-Dixon that Reeves is up by 7, and for Mississippi Today, Reeves is up by 11. We also see in Impact Research, which I want to note is sponsored by the Democratic nominee Brandon Presley, Reeves is only up by 3. It seems that the polls sponsored by Democrats seem to favor them more, which is obvious, but overall, it appears that this would be a lean R to likely R race. However, we also have to consider the historic elections in Mississippi, which we can check that out right now. Let's go to past elections. Let's find 2019. Here, Tate Reeves only beat Jim Hood by 5.1%. That was a very close margin, and that was before Reeves had many of his scandals, but it's also worth noting that 2019 happened under the Trump administration, allowing it to be a blue wave, as we see Kentucky when Andy Beshear was elected and when John Bel Edwards got his reelection. It's definitely possible that Mississippi could end up as lean, and there is a slight chance that Democrats could even win the state. However, I very much do struggle to see that happen, as Jim Hood, who I believe was the Attorney General at the time, could not beat him. Of course, it is worth noting that Reeves does have many scandals that are now plaguing him. However, we also have a Democrat in the White House now, which means that Republicans are more likely to turn out than they were when President Trump was in office. It's due to all these factors that I'm going to give this race a likely R rating. Of course, many things can change as there are still several months before the 2023 elections take place. However, now I'm going to give more specifics for what I think. I'm thinking Bashir will probably win by about 3 to 4%. I think Tate Reeves will likely win around 5 to 10 points. And I think the Republican in Louisiana will likely win by about 19, 20, something around there. So, thank you all for watching this video. I know it's very short, but there weren't many elections to cover as there's only 3 races up this cycle. I can't wait for our next video, and I hope you'll join me then. See you then.